It is 9 a.m. This is Talk of the Town for the 11th day of April. Good morning. Hope you're doing great after a very busy weekend. We wrapped up a very cool spring expo over in Peru this weekend. It was a great time. I am joined this morning by Karen Stearns.
Yes, good morning.
A rare appearance
Yes.
of Karen on Talk of the Town.
Rare.
It's great to have you today.
Thank you.
And we are joined this morning by City Code Enforcement Randy Ulery.
Morning.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Good. Busy, but good.
So how many, you said you've already inspected, how many properties
I
did you
was
get
out
to
at
this morning?
7 this morning. I had 8 to check before our board works for Wednesday.
Wow.
Of the 8, 5 of those actually were still going to appear. So there was some cleanup over the weekend.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Baby steps.
Baby steps. That's what we want. A little bit at a time.
I was going to say, let's start out, describe what you do.
I literally will follow the trash truck the day after your trash runs.
Mm-hmm.
And any of the bigger stuff, like the bulk items and stuff that are put out on the wrong times, we're sending the information out that when the free pickup is. Because this trash does get picked up, the free bulk. It'll pick it up once a month. They'll pick up 2 free big items for you. No stickers, no nothing. Their only requirement is to wrap the mattresses in plastic.
Right.
But I usually follow through that, and what we're doing is I go through in the morning, whatever complaints I've gotten through the weekends, through overnight, I go out and see if they're valid complaints. Probably 75% of them are valid.
I was going to say, how many of them are legit complaints?
Probably about 75%.
Right.
But there are some that are just like, I can't really do anything about this,
Some of it is it petty neighbor type stuff sometimes?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But as I say, as long as you're being a good neighbor,
Right.
get along with your neighbors, work with your neighbors, I shouldn't have to see you.
Right.
I shouldn't have to get the phone calls. I shouldn't have to go there. But, I do get a lot, and I got most of what we're getting is just not understanding how the trash system works and what's required.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's part of why we're doing this today, is try to get more information out there on this stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's all about educating people, because it hasn't been that strict before.
No. I mean, I've recently got hired. I started in May, and I started as a rental inspector, and then I moved to the code enforcement in June. And since then, I mean, I've been trying really hard to stay on it, get that information out there, and just basically educate people on what's going on and what's expected.
But you're only one person, so it's,
Absolutely.
it's tough to get around.
It's a lot. It can be headache. We're getting ready to start grass season as well, which is our worst time of the year.
I was going to say, your job doesn't always just focus on trash, right?
Oh no, when garage sale season's going on, we have to make sure permits are for garage sales. We're actually, whenever any work, roofing or anything is on, we're looking for those building permits as well. Trash, grass, cars that have been sitting for long periods of time, signs like your political signs, your just advertising signs, make sure that they're so far off the road on the other side of the sidewalk. There are certain ordinances that we have to make sure are being maintained.
Yeah, because they're not supposed to be between the curb and the
Between
sidewalk.
between the street and the sidewalk.
Yeah.
They can be from the sidewalk to the rest of your property. You can put them there, but they can't be between that. And that's more just to keep the drivers from being distracted by those signs being so close.
Gotcha.
Because you get some that are bigger signs, some little signs, So it's just better to have that just straight and forward. Keep it on this side of the sidewalk.
Okay. How do you remember all this? Like, how do you know when someone's breaking a code and when they're not?
I've had to do a lot of study and a lot of research, and I've read through a lot of the ordinances, and and I don't know if anybody knows this, but reading the ordinances is really boring. It's not
a fun read, right?
Very, very tedious, and
Sure.
Get a lot of headaches from it. But researching that stuff and knowing before you go out what you really got to look for.
And you got to put your own personal opinions aside on everything, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I have some properties that I've came up on that I would consider just awful.
Right.
The first thing I try to do is talk to that owner and
Sure.
say, hey, this doesn't look good. Let's try to clean this up a little bit, or could you try to do this, or can we work with you a little bit on this? Or if they call the office after we've sent a violation to them and say, hey, I've got this going on, it's like, okay, we'll give you an extension on it. We'll work with you. Our goal is I don't have to go out and clean it up. Street department does want to go out and clean it up. Mm-hmm. We would like the owners to take the responsibility and clean it up. Be proud of your place. Sure. I mean, I am. I know you guys probably are. We want to try to encourage everybody to be that way.
So is that usually the first step, communication with the homeowner? And,
pretty much, yeah.
And before we issue anything, let's work on it.
Right. So what we try to do is, like if I see something, I will leave a door. We have door hangers, and we have them printed in English and Spanish both to help. That says what the violation is. And for them to call our office or make contact with me, and we'll move from there and we send a letter out. That's always the first step. And we give them like 7 days to take care of that. Mm-hmm. Then we'll go back, and if it's not done or we haven't had any contact, that's when we send them the notice to say, you need to come before the Board of Works. Let's find out what's going on here.
Okay.
Now, most of the time when you send those notices, because I go to the Board of Works, rarely do people show up and explain their situations.
Yeah,
and you do your best to work with them. Mm-hmm. If they would just contact you and explain their situation.
Well, it's like I think it's the number. I wrote some numbers down before I came in, but it's like the numbers of like notices to appear. Uh-huh. Like last year, we had 177 notices to appear sent out, and of those that were sent out, when you talk about property cleanups, there was only 33 actual property cleanups done. So those properties that were sent out and came in, they actually took care of their own problems. We didn't have to. And that's our goal. We don't want to have to do it. We just want to get it cleaned up. Right. I think this year I've sent 94 out, and we've actually had 28 properties brought in. And of the 28, we've done 8 property cleanups so far. But the rest of them we're still working on. But right. 94, you get 28 of them, hey, it's still, they're cleaning it up. That's all that matters. One
Sure.
property at a time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure. Now, is there a difference between like what you do and what Madison Glenn does with rental inspections?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Madison deals more on just the rental properties, and she's dealing with the inside and the safety part of it.
Okay.
Making sure that there's safety issues that are taken care of, like your electrical covers, your electrical panels, stuff like that, smoke detectors, proper sizes of windows for escape and stuff like that. She's looking more onto that side of it, to the safety side of it. Okay. With the rental properties. I deal with the outside.
The outside,
of the private
okay,
farm.
gotcha.
Yeah.
And then Rob does what?
Rob does it all. Rob is the...
Now who's Rob?
He's a building inspector.
Rob is our building commissioner, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Rob deals more with the inspections of the properties, and in our cases, if we find one that we want the extra input on, we bring him in with us.
So he's more about the structure of the...
Yeah, he's more of the structure and deals with more of the fire condemnations and stuff like that, or if a house actually has to be condemned.
Now I'm guessing it's a big challenge when you have someone that owns a property that's out of town, out of state.
Yes.
I'm guessing that's a huge issue.
Yeah, we do have that. We've got some really good property managers that we're dealing with.
Right.
That are taking care of these, and we've actually, I've got several that we deal with, and we actually will contact them, say, hey, your rental property had this violation, and a lot of them are really good about taking care of it. There's some that are a little slower at it, but we still get it done.
What would you say if someone said, oh, you just love doing this, don't you?
I enjoy what I'm doing.
But I mean, talking about, giving them notices.
Oh, I hate doing that. I really do.
Right.
It's not one of my favorite things to do. Because it's like, I don't want to go into your property and say, hey, you need to clean your mess up.
Yeah.
I just feel like we're all adults.
Right.
We should just take care of our stuff. Be proud of what you have.
Mm-hmm.
But you do your best to work with them.
Yes.
And I've seen that myself.
Yeah.
So.
I know Karen and I've had multiple conversations about these properties and stuff. So
Sure.
Yeah.
So let me ask you one of the specifics. Earlier you mentioned a car that hasn't moved in a long time. So
right.
So what would the situation be for you to get involved at that point?
Normally what happens if we see a car that's sitting, say it's on the backside of a property and the plates are expired and the tires are flat and grass is growing around it, where it's obviously it hasn't moved for 21 days, which is what the ordinance says
Okay.
for on private property. It cannot sit in the same position for 21 days. It has to be operable, has to be legally plated, all that good stuff.
Okay.
Usually when something like that happens, it takes about 3 weeks before I can actually tag it, because I have to see it sitting in that same spot over and over and over. Once I see it there, I'll tag the vehicle. They get 14 days to move it or make it operable, meet the ordinance, move it to a different spot, get tires aired up, do what they've got to do. Or we will actually go in and we will tow it. And then they're responsible. If they want it back, they've got to go to the tow company, pay everything to get it back.
Now, is that the same if the car is on the street versus on the property?
The street's a little bit different because the police department actually handles that as well.
Okay.
So they can tag vehicles on the street. For the longest time, code enforcement wasn't doing that. We're just getting into that point where I can start managing that as well. Those, they get 72 hours from the point that they're tagged. So if we see one that's got flat tires, expired plates, it's sitting on the street, I know where it's at. I give it 72 hours. If it's still sitting in the same spot, tag it. We're in the same situation. They get 72 hours or it can be towed away. So
there we go.
Yeah.
Now I know.
Yeah, so there's a lot of places that I'm seeing 2, 3, 4 times in a cycle week, going back and double checking things.
Yeah.
So I've noticed that the people that don't show up to the Board of Works to explain their situations, they tend to be the ones that get the fines.
Yes.
As opposed to.
And a lot of times the fines that I know it's been a big conversation that's been going on, those have been happening to our multiple violation properties. The ones that, in a 12-month period have had 2, 3, 4, violations sent, and it's obvious they're not attempting to work with us. That's where the Board of Works is like, hey, maybe this will get your attention to work with us.
Right. But it gets escalated to that point.
It gets escalated to that point. Yeah, when you're
they just don't go straight to
hitting, 2, 3, 4 times being brought in.
Right.
And when we print that report up, I mean, it's a just list after year after year after year. Then it's like, okay, we need to really look at this and figure out what's going on. And that's the letter that we send out, and even in the conversations I've had with a lot of the property owners with the multiple violations, come in with a game plan to explain to them how we're going to fix this or how we're going to try to curb this where we don't have one every 6 months.
So do you work, and I know a lot of it's residential, but do you do this with commercial properties as well?
Businesses as well, as we watch, they're under a little bit different on the trash because they don't run the city trash routes. So I have to kind of figure out when their trash is picked up and stuff, and every business is different too. So,
right.
But it's the same thing.
Sure. Now, do you, for lack of a better word, do you search around town for these, or do you have people bring them to you?
I would say I probably come in some mornings. I have maybe 10 calls from the day before, the night before.
Right.
I go through that, and there's, like today being it's Monday, Friday was the trash route in the one area. I'll be through that route, checking on stuff that I had last week from 7 days ago. And as I'm out, if I see stuff, I'll go ahead and tag it, and we'll start another one there. So it's trying to stay in the same area at the same time to do it. A lot of times it don't work that way, but there's only one of me, and there's a lot of area to cover.
For sure.
And some areas are worse than the others, but they're getting better.
Yeah.
That's my goal each week. It's getting better.
It's getting better. A little bit at a time.
A little bit at a time.
Yeah. All right. So let's go back over some of the info you wanted to share about the trash.
The biggest thing is knowing those bulk days is for everyone to understand when that bulk pickup is.
Okay.
Each day of the week's different for when their trash is picked up. So like the area over there that is, say if it's a Monday pickup, and I actually brought it in because you know how hard it is to keep track of all this stuff. like if it's a Monday pickup, every third Monday of the month, they'll pick that up. They'll pick those 2 free items up. So if you have Monday, it's on the third Monday. Tuesday is the fourth Tuesday. Wednesday and Thursdays are both the second Wednesday or Thursday of the month.
Okay.
And then your Friday is always the first Friday of the month.
And a big
Okay.
problem you have is, from us talking, is people, the trash goes by and they didn't get it all, and they think it's okay to leave it on the street
Yeah.
until the next time.
Right. And that's why I try to explain to people we can't have it sitting out there for 2-3 weeks before it's picked up.
Right.
They think, oh, I put it out there and it's going to be picked up in 2 weeks. Well, I don't want to drive by somebody's area and, or I'd be driving down the street and there's a mattress sitting on the side of the road,
Yeah.
Right.
and it's there for 2 weeks. We don't want to see that, Nobody wants to see that.
No.
We want to keep everything looking nice and clean and, working towards that goal.
Which is the point of what you do.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm probably one of the least favorite people that when I pull up, people don't want to see my truck pull up. So, and I'm okay with it. I understand.
Sure.
But yeah,
Sure. All right. Good information today, though.
that's
This has been very
our
enlightening
hope.
and kind of fascinating, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's been good having you in today.
Yeah, it has been.
I do know our biggest one that we're really worried about is the grass when it starts up, because we're about probably another week away before.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've seen some people mowing, which is
Yeah.
great, but our grass is coming, and that last year was a big summer project. I mean, I think when I was looking at the numbers, we had, I think 484 grass notices sent out last year, just on the first notices, which means the first time we've had to tell somebody, you need to mow your yard, or trim your weeds down, or a lot of people don't understand, just because they went out and mowed like the front part of their lawn, you still got the back and the alley you got to take care of too. That's still cleaning up, because you let that stuff grow tall, you're going to get all kinds of critters running around, and then we're going to get complaints. I'm going to get phone calls about that.
Right.
So, and the 8-inch rule. That's what we tell everybody. Remember, it's 8 inches. Don't let it get over 8 inches.
Okay.
I mean, it can be 7.5. We're good. Just don't make it 8 inches.
So 8 inches, that's the magic number.
Yeah, it's a magic number. Yep. Because, the last thing we want to do is put Tony at the street department with more work, having to go mow somebody's yard for them.
Real quick, shout out to them. They do great.
They do a heck of a job.
I mean,
Brian and Tony are great to work
wow.
with.
I had a tree fall in front of my house. Part of it on the sidewalk in the street. Gave them a call. I mean, it was like 20 minutes later. It was gone.
Yep.
It was impressive.
Yep.
So.
They've been fantastic to work with. So.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I actually had texted Dahrol and asked him, because someone had texted the news hotline number and said, hey, there's these potholes on Main Street, and so I texted Dahrol, and it kind of went from there, and I got an email back and said it might be a while because it was raining, but right before I got her email, I got a text from the person that sent me the pictures, sent me more pictures showing me that they had already been fixed.
Wow.
So
there you go.
Shout out to the street department, because they do an awesome
communication. That's what it's about, right?
Yep.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Randy, thanks for coming in, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, Randy Ulery, Code Enforcement Officer with the City of Logansport. Good stuff on Talking the Town, and that will do it for today. We'll be in tomorrow with Madison Klim, who does rental inspections. We'll talk rental inspection tomorrow on Talking the Town. Have a great day. See you.